Chaim.
We want pizza.
Fleischig, there's fleischig. You can't have pizza, sorry. You have to wait.
Benjamin Chaim.
Here's the issue. I was paying attention a little. I happen to be in the media business. So, you pay attention a little what's going on in the media. And I noticed the Gimel Tamuz this year was mentioned in especially Jewish media. And there was something, I heard a comment in one of the places, they were talking about the Rebbe, and one of the people said, you know what's fascinating? And he's like, not only by the Chassidim, the Rebbe is alive. Not only the Chassidim behave as if the Rebbe is alive. From their perspective, they said, the world. He said, it's fascinating. The world wants to know what is the Rebbe saying now. The language is not what did the Rebbe say, but the language is what is the Rebbe saying now. The world recognizes the Rebbe's leadership. The Rebbe recognizes when they open up a Sikha, they read, and they hear the Rebbe speaking now. It's now. And people, the faders, are seeking guidance. It's not to comprehend. This is something which is. I'll say something somebody wrote to me. I write a weekly column. And the last few weeks, of course, it was about 30 years. Different yonim about the Rebbe. So even though this was not my nusach, but this is what he picked up. And he writes to me, from his perspective, he says, he's a professor, so he writes, people die twice. When it happens, and then they become forgotten. But when a person is not forgotten, he didn't die even once. And he's like trying to comfort me. I mean, he heard my pain in my reading, when he read my writing, so he's trying to comfort me. I see by you, the Rebbe is fully alive because you're not forgetting him. It just tells you, this is something very interesting. The world is recognizing the Rebbe for his presence. It's not only by Chassidim. It's not only by Spitz. It's something which the world is. Since October 7th, everybody wants to know what the Rebbe has to say. It's incredible. Where does it come from? They feel the Rebbe's presence. I mean, you went to the Hale today, you saw who came. It's unbelievable. A whole year, not only today. Stam l'shema afrisha ma'aseh, they say. This I heard today from the shliach in Alaska, Rabbi Greenberg. He came from Alaska yesterday. Shabbos, he was in Alaska. He says, so he had a couple that came to him last week, and they came this week. And the first week they came, they were like cool. This week they came, and he decided, since the Shabbos before Gimel Tamuz, he pressured everyone to say something about the Rebbe, if they have anything personal that they can tell about the Rebbe. And this couple that looked like very lukewarm, not even lukewarm, was like completely disconnected. And they tried to get out of saying anything, but then he pressured them. So finally the wife opens her mouth and she says, "We were married for 7 years. We had no children. We came to New York for a visit, and somebody mentioned to me, 'You're here already, you don't have children. Why don't you go to the..." She says, "This is last year. This year we had a baby." And she's like, she didn't become a Lubavitcher, she's not even excited, but when she told the story. Wherever you go, it's happening. Everybody had something to say. He says he was happy that he pressured, because otherwise she wouldn't say. But these are things that are happening all the time. You see the Rebbe's on Hoged, you see the Rebbe's... You know, it's like talking about it. It's like sounds like so redundant wherever you go, everybody talks about it. Oh, well, what is it negay? Why is it negay? There's something very negay. There's so many things that ever said. Let me speak about myself, but I'm suspicious that there are probably one or two more people like me. There are wonderful things in the books. It's wonderful. What does it got to do with reality? The Rebbe says, "Hin is a Moshiach Boda." These are things like, okay, fine. It's already 30 years. What's weiter? The Rebbe says it's every day, and it's 30 years. We have to connect with what we learn, that it is real. And what do I mean? First, my father, after Gimel Tamuz, for a few years, he lived a few years after Gimel Tamuz, he would constantly drill into our minds to believe the Rebbe in the 60s that the Jews are going to come out from Russia is 1,000 times harder than believing what the Rebbe is saying today, that Mashiach is coming today. Just to illustrate, I just want to explain, what does that mean? How difficult it was. The Iron Curtain, it wasn't called Iron Curtain for nothing. It was an Iron Curtain. It was tight shut. I give you, in my own family, my grandmother left in 1946. She left behind a mother with a few siblings, and there was zero communication until the late 60s. My grandmother did not know that her mother died for a few years. That's how tight shut it was. We knew nothing. For people to come out from Russia, whoever believed it? Whoever imagined? And that everybody, every Farbringen would say L'chaim, and they would sing the Shir Samecho, and they will come out, and they will come out, and they will come out, and the world is looking at the Rebbe. I'll tell you a story I heard firsthand. This is first-hand story. There was a rabbi, his name was Rabbi Israel Miller. He was one of those rabbis Askonim. of Jewish New York. He stood at the helm of every single organization in America for 50 years. Every rabbinical organization, every activist organization, he was at the helm. He was the president, vice president, chairman, whatever you want. A big asking. And he was also a big asking for Soviet Jewry. He told me this story, I even have it on video. He said, it was in 1965, I was invited by the Russian government to go and visit Russia. They wanted to show me, he was the president of the Stadler Saraboni, what do they call themselves? Not Rabbinical Alliance.
RCA?
RCA, yes. Rabbinical Council of America. They were like the biggest rabbinical organization. They sponsored him a trip. He should come and visit Russia, him and another few rabbis. He comes to Russia and he says, yeah, I have to admit, before I even start, even though I was at the leadership of Jewish life, I had nothing to do with Lubavitch. I knew nothing about Lubavitch. I had no shaykhs with Lubavitch. So when I was invited to go to Russia, I just went. I came to Russia, he says, and of course the Soviet government, they made sure, I should only go where they want me to go, and they took us to all the big shuls, he says. We went to they call it the shul, the big built shuls in Moscow and in Leningrad and in Kharkov and in Kiev and in Odessa, all the big cities. And of course, they guarded us. They made sure we shouldn't be in contact with anybody in the shul so that we couldn't talk and hear anything. But they showed us there's a million every day, and the Jews coming, and Yiddishkeit is flourishing. He says, I noticed something very interesting. Every shul in every single city, the same story. We were in the middle of Birchas Krishma, when everybody's like deep into davening and everything is quiet. Somebody with under the talus, they would pull their talus over their head and they would quietly move themselves over, shove themselves next to me. And under the talus they would ask, you have regards from the Rebbe? You have Asidah Tilas Hashem? You have Hayen? You have Asicha? He says, embarrassingly, I had nothing to say. I had nothing for them. And this happened in every single city, same story. I was like, one thing I definitely picked up, first of all, I kicked myself. How come I didn't come and visit Lubavitch before I went for this trip? I would have known better. But second of all, he says, Lubavitch Rebbe has a bunch of agents here. He has a network. So my first decision was, I come back to New York, my first stop, I'm coming to visit the Rebbe. I'll give him a report and see what we can do. Anyway, the trip is winding down. The Russian government, they had a purpose why they invited me. And their goal was, the Soviets were under a world embargo because they were persecuting religion. So, they had a meeting with me, and they tell me, I want you to come back to America, and I want you to report to Congress that there's no religious persecution. We showed you how Yiddishkeit is flourishing. They brought him to a big warehouse filled with Sefer Teiros, with hundreds of Sefer Teiros, of course, that they confiscated from all the shuls they closed down. And they're telling him, Yiddishkeit by us is flourishing so much. We are willing to export and donate all these Sefer Teiros to Israel, which at the time was a young country, 18, 17 years old. They're building new cities, new towns, new villages. They're opening new shuls. We are going to donate all these Sefer Teiros to Israel fledgling Israel. A deal, good deal. So they want him to promise. Anyway, he said, I had enough brains to tell them I'll think about it. I come back to New York. My first phone call was 277 Eastern Parkway, and I'm asking, I just came back from Russia. My name is Rabbi Miller. I'd like to see the Rebbe. Rabbi Chadakov, in his good old-fashioned way, says, sure, we have an appointment for you in 4 months. Okay. You don't want darf man nicht. He didn't say it in Russian, but in Russian they have this nice expression, nicht хочешь, не надо. You don't want, darf man nicht. Goodbye. I hung up the phone.
In English, Michael Tovis.
Michael Davis, yeah. I thought that Rebbe is going to be interested. He's not interested in the Chabad. He says, a couple of hours later, the phone rings. This is Rabbi Chadakov from Lubavitch. The Rebbe will see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock. And he's like, highlighting this fact that was the Chedesh Elul. He says, but the Rebbe does not take Yechidus. And 8 o'clock, not 3 o'clock in the morning. Akitza, I came from the Bronx. He lived in the Bronx. He was a rabbi in the Bronx. I came from the Bronx. I came to Samsung. 8 o'clock, they led me into the Rebbe's room. And I sat down. I started telling the Rebbe, giving him a report. And I noticed that Rebbe's paying attention to every word I'm saying. And every sentence that I couldn't complete, the Rebbe finished it for me. The Rebbe knew what was going on there more than what I thought I saw. He knew exactly who and what and where and in which city and I'm like, the more I sit and the more I watch the Rebbe's react, I'm like, I'm blown away. It's like, this is a leader. This is unbelievable. This is a holy man. Like the Gemara says, but Rabbi Yehuda, the Pseida, Yeshev b'netzivim tzudase prus al Yerushalayim. You know, he's sitting in New York and he's all over Russia. Anyway, I heard that I was so overwhelmed. In the meantime, he says, came the time of Ma'ariv, and the secretary knocked on the door to tell the Rebbe it's Ma'ariv, and the Rebbe tells me, you can just ignore them. We're busy right now. Just let's continue talking. And we continued for a while, a couple of hours. Finally, I was so impressed by the Rebbe, I decided that's it. Who should I ask? Who should I consult with if we should agree to the deal with Russia? Should we accept their deal or not? Should we say something good about them or not? I tell the Rebbe the whole story. The Rebbe hears me out, and suddenly the Rebbe's face changed completely. He became very serious, and he says, no, I don't think it's a good idea. Because very soon, the situation in Russia will change, and they will need all these Sefer Teiros to use in all the new shuls they're going to open up in Russia, and they won't be enough. You're going to need more. So no, don't agree, don't take out the Sefer Teiros from there. In other words, the Rebbe didn't relate to whether he should say something nice about Russia, but the Rebbe related to the fact that they need the Sefer Teiros, they need it in Russia. He's telling me this story. He says, I couldn't believe my ears. Is this the same person I was sitting with? Is this it? Until now, I saw a holy man who probably has Ruach HaKodesh, and here, like, what is this, a dream? The situation in Russia is going to... I'm trying to bring out the point. Russia, it was like so unbelievable. He says, I was so embarrassed. I walked out. I was embarrassed to share my experience with anybody. I didn't repeat what happened to that Yechidus to a soul, he says, because I was so embarrassed by the end, how it ended. But one thing, I listened. I didn't do anything. There was no deal. He told me the story, probably Nun Daled, and he got so emotional. He says, "Ani hagever roisi, I with my 2 eyes saw a man, a Novi, like Yeshaya Novi. He foresaw what will happen. It took 25 years, but it happened. I saw in 1990 how this Iron Curtain fell when the Rebbe told me about it 25 years earlier. This just illustrates how difficult it was to believe that something like this could happen. And my father would tell me to believe that Moshiach is coming today is a no-brainer. It's so simple, it's so smooth. When the Rebbe is telling us certain things, we have to not only learn it in the books, we have to drill it in, we have to live it, we have to experience it. Right now they're having the Chidon for Minyon Moshiach Hagula. I'm thinking to myself, the Rebbe said we should learn Minyon Moshiach Hagula. Why? It's just, so we can create Mishichisna, not Mishichisna. I mean, what? To drill in our minds things that are far-fetched. I mean, why did they say just to build up our excitement? What was the purpose? And there's a whole build-up. We don't. There's so much to it. There's so much to it. Now, we push it, have to take it, and then it'll change our lives. It will change our lives. I mean, you talk to Bochum today, it's amazing. I spent the Shabbos by the way, this Shabbos. There isn't much else to do but to talk to Bochum. Either you learn for yourself or you talk to Bochum. You listen to a Bochum today. A Bochum was born 10 years after Gimel Tamuz. He's 20 today. And younger ones. I sat with such a beautiful group of Westchester boys. How old are they already? 15? 16? What a tainug. I mean, we sat, Friday night, we sat till like 3:30. Ich can't sitzen. I mean, I collapsed. We sat, and we have a common language. There's somebody to talk to. A 15-year-old boy, I don't know him from a hole in the wall. Never met him. I don't know when I'll meet him again. It was so geschmack. Why? They're not tainted by our cynicism. They're pure. They take the Rebbe's words, they learn it. We shouldn't ruin them. But we should take it for ourselves. Learning in Yonei Geula Moshe. I gotta tell you, there's on Montgomery Street, there's a kollel in the shul, in Rabbi Fisher's kollel. There's a group of young lights, they have a Tuesday morning, they have, after Shachris, they have a Shir Geula Moshiach. It's such a chayas. They take all kinds of sugyas. It's not like it's not only Nun Aleph Nun Beis. It's sugyas. Way back to the Rebbe's Igris Kedesh, Tigeres Ches HaMeisim, noch the verschiedene. But the chayas, the geschmack, the life. And the Rebbe is telling us, if we're going to do it, we will start living Moshiachdik. It's a different life. There's no depression. There's no bitterness. There's no... And also we will figure out everything is with a plan. The Rebbe says so many times in the Sichas, the Friedrich Rebbe hat alles bewarnt. Everything is with his askome. Everything that is happening is with the Rebbe's askome. The Rebbe for whatever reason, and we shouldn't say for whatever reason, because if you will learn the Siches, you will learn Chassidus, Bechlal, and you will learn Maimorim, you will have, I know there are many people who, I know Rabbi used to hate it when somebody used to try to explain Gimel Tamuz. And I agree, I mean, explaining Gimel Tamuz, what do you know? Imkolze. When you have a shtickle appreciation, you have a shtickle understanding of what's going on in the world, you don't feel like you're drifting aimlessly. Something is happening. The Rebbe told us Mashiach is coming and there's an involvement of Mashiach is coming. It's in the books. I'll take what says in the books and apply it to real life. Anyway, Bobishim Tzufil. Chaim.
Yeah.